became a stockbroker, then an investment advisor, and retired when I was 45. Every one of those things was driving myself incessantly. I would say I didn't have any problems saving money at all. I saved money like crazy. I studied the markets. I knew the key was never to be in debt, so I wasn't in debt. And I saved and saved and saved, learned how to make money with my money without leveraging it. And so by the time I was 45, I was actually able to retire. But the main reason I retired was because no matter how well I did, I wanted to do better. It was a constant drive to do better, 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 better all the time until, in a way, you could say I went bankrupt too. I was egoically bankrupt in that my ego was driving me to the point that it almost killed me. So in a sense, my cycle wasn't a bunch of little ones, it was a big one. And my cycle since then has been clearing myself and continuing on up the ladder, not just of being financially in good shape, but also being in good shape for those things I neglected, which was the spiritual side, the balance that I needed, which was understanding humility, understanding spirituality, those things that I didn't think were particularly important at one time in my life. And I attacked that the same way I attacked the stock market and everything else I've ever done, full force and with unrelenting drive and determination for perfection. And I believe that now, at least this particular thing, I'm getting it down pretty well. We've done several things that have allowed me to get through my barrier, which was wearing myself completely to the point where I was almost dysfunctional, losing my wife because of that, and basically coming out of a deep depression because of all those things and working myself up because I had the machines to pull me out. I was creative enough, driven enough, focused enough to be able to come up with things that were useful. And as I came up with things that were useful that negated ego, I was actually able to see things in a much clearer light. I read constantly. And so I've read books on spirituality, I've read books on alchemy, I've read books on Gnosticism, mysticism, everything imaginable, and continue to do to this day. And each one of these things that I'm doing is going after a several-pronged approach. One, to be able to function well in the market without becoming emotional on losing trades. And actually, I think I'm quite close to that now after all this time of working myself out of the trauma that I got to when I was 45 years of age and could not essentially trade very well because of built-up negativity. I've gotten to the point now where I see the market fairly clearly. The second thing I wanted to do was to clear off all of the fear and everything that was built up over all that time, plus antagonisms in the family, etc. And the machines are so powerful now that they just wick off everything. It's kind of a strange thing to say, well, I couldn't figure it out, so I just made it to where I could figure it out. But that's absolutely the truth. By myself, I think I would have been pretty miserable, but because I was able to develop the technology to raise this little discovery I came up with to a high enough level, I'm able to basically blot out any negativity of any consequence. When I was trading and even afterward, I would wake up in the morning, my stomach just in knots, waiting for the next day and the next battle. It was very closely akin, I think, to battle fatigue that people would feel in the Army or in any kind of a stressful job that they might have. The problem with all these things, as I've found, is that it's an accumulation over years, and every person that goes through this battle accumulates scars to the point that after a while they become dysfunctional, fall apart, lose their health, and then eventually expire due to the fact that their brain is so overloaded with negativity they can't do anything else. In fact, death is a relief from the pain. But what I've done, I think, actually it's not me, as I've mentioned to many of you in the past, I simply am open to this kind of stuff and it comes to me, so since it's coming to me, I'm not complaining, I use it. So it's not me, let me make sure I make a caveat on that. But since I am receiving this information, since I am utilizing this information for my good and for others, this is the way I would say that barriers actually are as I perceive them. First of all, there's the barrier of fear of death. And I've worked on that with the help of really wonderful people that have assisted me. And, to them, as much credit goes as me, and maybe more. I've worked on formulae for longevity, for life force. These are all contained in the water, and along with many, many other components of the water, which produces this unbelievably fantastic liquid water crystal that people take as a quasi-homeopathic preparation, or whatever else you might want to call it, sent to you by distance. The other thing I found out is that glass is an excellent technology to break up negativity. So when I talk to a client that's negative or uptight or whatever, I usually just break it up. It's like breaking up a barrier. It breaks in little shards with the help of tachyonized glass. And it's a technology that Kevin and I both agree we will utilize tremendously in the future to break up negativity and to enhance people energetically in a way that's never been found to be in the history of man. And I mean that sincerely. This is entirely new technology to my mind. And as a matter of fact, I added a couple of alchemical elixirs today. I tested them out extensively on myself before I did, which I always do. One of them is Red Lion, and the other one is Philosopher's Stone, which I was able to make a fairly decent elixir of, I think. And I've definitely felt the energy of it. It's very full, much more energizing than the machine was before, when it was highly energizing before. What I've found now with the water is that it absolutely totally energizes you whenever your energy goes down. To me, if I just drink a glass or two of water, I'm right back up there and flying at full power. It's almost like getting gasoline in your tank. These are tremendous barrier breakers. To not be afraid that you're going to run out of gas, to not be afraid that you can stay up all night if you need to not be afraid that you can't turbocharge yourself in some way if it's necessary, to not be afraid that you're going to be so blocked up with negative constrictions that the glass can't break it up, because the glass can break it up. And then, of course, the distance energy signal, which powers through everything and is the basis of all the other technologies. This energy signal is so powerful, and it can be utilized in so many ways, that it literally represents a shift, I think, in man's capacity comparable to maybe the discovery of discovery and utilization of electricity, possibly even comparable to Tesla at the turn of the last century. That's what's coming up in this particular technology, and I'm not overplaying my statement, because of those of you that know me know that I never overplay my statement. I always underplay it. This is at least as big a thing as that, as far as I'm concerned, in the future. And we have that capability in our hands right now. We're utilizing it for ourselves and for our clients. So I look at barriers as things to be powered through and blown apart. And I didn't feel that way when I was 45 years of age. I'm 63 now. As a matter of fact, at 45, I felt that I was basically had blown myself up, and I was shot. I'm just going to continue to exist and fight my way out and hope I could find some vitamins or something to make myself feel better, not realizing that the key to the thing was far beyond vitamins or anything else. It was energetics. It was these high-level energizing capabilities that, in my opinion at least, go far beyond any other nutrients that I've ever been able to discover as far as their usefulness is concerned. So as I look at barriers, what I see is barriers are only man's imagination. As you clear negativity, capabilities, possibilities open up before you infinitely. And they're broken apart just like you take a machete and knock down trees in the jungle by the machine, simply directing the power of the machine wherever you need it to go, and then the forest parts for you. And you continue on through unscathed and, in many cases, without much discomfort. What I think what I think I see in the future is